Yes, so let me say good night to our listeners. Welcome to Real Talk, a social media program of the United Workers' Party, held every Monday, once God give us life. And today already is the 26th of January 2026. Time flies very quickly. And tonight with me, you have Dr. Thomson Fontaine. And as we hear, over the weekend, we've heard lots of things we have been hearing about, snowstorms across the United States, but also too in Dominica because of the heavy rainfalls. We've been hearing about slides in the Peachtree area. This we'll be talking about tonight. Just, go over and see what we ourselves as, our government in waiting, what the kind of approach. And Doc, as we welcome to all our listeners who are tuning in tonight, you're always welcome to participate at some point. We take your questions and we try to answer as positive as possible. And if you have suggestions, comments, also all of these are welcome. And so we just say good night and welcome to our usual program. So Doc, you look bright and ready to go because Sunday coming is we're counting down to our great grand rally. And I see this all smiles on your face tells me that things is in order. How is it going so far in the response?
So good night, and of course, a very good evening to our many listeners. It's great to have all of you joining us. I must say I'm excited, because the planning for the spectacular national rally is well underway, and we're excited about the prospect. As you know, is happening in Grand Fort. There were some concerns about the rain, because it's been raining in Dominica basically for a straight week, and it continued today. But I'm satisfied that given the fact that the rain has been falling for the past week, and we're not in the rainy season, that this weekend will be a very good one for us. So we're excited about that. People will be coming from all over Dominica to the village of Grand Fort, so it's good for us as well to be hosting persons from all over Dominica. That does not happen very often. In fact, I can't remember when we've had a national rally of any political party in Dominica. So that's a first for us in the village, and people are excited. The villagers are excited about it, of course, and those of us in the party that are doing the planning, we're excited. So it's great. Let me just encourage persons who have not yet made up their minds to, plan on coming, joining us. It's a very short ride now from Roseau to Grand Fort. Actually, it takes about 35 minutes. You can be in Grand Fort in 35, 40 minutes. So it's not at all a long drive. It is actually very close.
Yes. And a number of persons have been calling and they have been saying, look, expressing their desire to participate. And what I like about this rally is that at the time this rally was planned, we had no other events in place. It's only one event. We planned it very well, and we have this date covered, one the 1st of February at Grand Fort. We're asking the Dominican people, all roads lead to Grand Fort, no other road, Grand Fort. There's only one road. When you reach that surface there, is Grand Fort. We are going to Grand Fort this coming Sunday, I think, and I believe that a number of persons are coming, and we are making provisions for transporting people as well. So I sense that we are going to really get the response. In fact, the people have been calling for this kind of movement, and we have heeded to the call, and we are giving them what that they so desire for a very long time. So Doc, I know a lot of hard work, and let me just commend everyone who has been doing his and her best or her best to ensure that things are getting on stream. So yes, we just know, I know it's good weather. It's going to be good weather, and even if a little rainfall, it will be called showers of blessing. So I'm asking everyone, all roads lead to Grand Fort. Yes, Grand Fort. You have not muted.
Yes, indeed, it will be a grand occasion as well, because it's an opportunity for us to really, take some time and explain to the Dominican public about what is happening. My trip here in the United States, for example, will give a little update on that as well. And then just to talk about the 10 pillars, the vision that we have for the country. It will be a really positive vibe. And in addition to that, we're going to be having some really nice performances. It's the carnival season, so we'll be having some Calypsonians perform. We'll be having some
Wow.
of our, we'll be having some bouillon performers as well. So it's going to be a really great, 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 activity for us, and we're really excited about it. It's an opportunity as well to listen to some of our Calypsonians, those get a chance to see them live and in person, So it's great all around. It's proven to be a very exciting time for us, and a great one, and we are really, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to that
Oh, yes.
activity on Sunday. It starts at well, we've been advertising 12 o'clock. But we definitely want to do it, so that we can have enough time in the light. And so, as you know, the days are short,
Right.
but definitely between 2 and 6, we should be able to cover all of the activities that we are looking at. So it's a great chance to come out. The weather will be good. I am saying the weather is going to be great, and it's just a great time to meet with other persons in the party. And just to have a great time, in the village of Grand Fort around the issues that matter to all of us here in Dominica. So be excited about it. Absolutely.
Yes, and we're still saying that there's time for support. We are still soliciting your support financially. And so once you can do it, later on we'll post the website and the accounts number that you could get through, or mobile account number that you could participate, because like anything else, these events are expensive and we expect your continued participation. And we also thank you for all the past contributions you have made to this party, great party, and you continue to do so. So we do appreciate it, and we're just looking forward for you to just flood Grand for this coming Sunday. Well, Doc, it's nice having you back, and you already said that you will disclose and to report to the Dominican people about your trip to Washington, so we're not going there at all. That is for a surprise for us on Sunday. We'll deal with that on Sunday. We should be there to hear it, right? And so I will leave that in place. But Doc, as we experience, global warming all over the world, and torrential rainfalls there and there, snowstorms there and there, North America and other parts of the world, in our own, space in Dominica, we have had a number of areas prone to landslides in the past, and this continues to happen from time to time, especially in areas, where there is hilly. In fact, just to give you a flashback of what happened some years ago, where I have my property, my agricultural property, just about 3 miles up the road from me, where I'm located in the Ancaster Park, to be precise, in the Kaum area. There was a great slide taking place there, and now it has become a lake. But what has happened is that over time, this has built up, and you had a backlog of water. So when the landslide came down, they always say after a landslide and you have blockage, expect a flood or flooding. And so periodically you've had times when, flash floods were announced, and when sometimes the water comes down unannounced and rushes down and flood the whole place downstream to the live area and cause a lot of damage, property damage as well. And so we have had that. Well, we had that landslide some years ago, during Storm Erica. And, in Pilit Savan, we had that slide right there. And, a number of persons lost their lives, properties and everything else. And even years ago, I can't remember the date. I don't know if you have it. You're a historian, you're an author by profession again, and you're a historian. You recall the Bacatel time.
That was in 1978, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just a little background. So we are prone to these things, but as we get more sophisticated in technology, we get updates as to how we approach these things. And just Sunday past there, we heard of this heavy landslide taking place and blocking of the river in the Pichel area. What do you make of it, and what do you believe as a quick response plan, what you think should be done? Because we're not bashing anybody on this. We know it's Mother Nature at work, but obviously as a government in waiting, we also have to ensure that we actually mitigate the incidence of these things. So what do you take of this?
When I first saw this, I was a little bit concerned, because part of it is not just natural, because as you know, the road is being resurfaced or rebuilt in that area. The Grand Bay to Roseau Road is been refurbished, and a lot of it has to do with they were opening up and taking into the sides of the mountains. And when I passed there a few weeks ago, actually going to play some cricket in up in Geneva, I noticed that they were they had cut into the mountainside quite a bit, and so that may have contributed. I don't know, but it's certainly in the area where that kind of work is going on. But I must say, having listened to some of the locals and to what is going on, it does appear that the danger is not over. As you indicated, a dam was formed. When the water blocked the river, literally blocked the river, and then the water obviously has to find a way out. Right now, it is backing up. It is backing up, but at some point, it's going to have enough volume to push that mass or whatever it is that's blocking it is going to be able to move it forward, and all of that is going to come crashing down on the village below. So that is something that I believe the authorities have to look at very closely. They may have a way of releasing the pressure right now to prevent that buildup. I think that would probably be one of the ways of looking at it. But what this calls us, what this points to, I believe, is something that we have to pay a very close attention to in Dominica. We have a few very unstable areas in the country, as you pointed out. You talked about the Bacatel disaster in 1978. We've also had several incidences in the Good Hope area. And, talking about that, when we were there a couple of weeks ago in Good Hope, I noted that people were still building on the slopes. People are still building on some of those slopes that are prone to landslides. So it seems that we need a very comprehensive land policy, a policy that will be able to map out the areas that are prone to those kinds of earth movements, like in the Good Hope area, the Soufriere area. We know, for example, that right now the government, they are looking to replace or to move the people out of certain areas in Soufriere, Petit Soufriere, where you have, again, this movement. We have seen that happen in the case of Petit Savan, where they have moved them out of Petit Savan to the Stowe Dubic area. So we have to have a more comprehensive and wholesome approach to that, because that is something that is very, very serious, and it's something that could result in a loss of life if it's not taken seriously. In fact, we've lost quite a number of persons already in the Bacatel, in Petit Savan, in Good Hope, even in Soufriere, we've lost people for those very same accidents and those very same occurrences. So I think it's very important that the government initiates a very comprehensive policy that will look at those areas, map them out, and really move people away from those danger areas. You have really no way of stopping it. Obviously, that was a result of human intervention, as well as the consistent rain that we've been having for over a week now. The rain has been falling very consistently over that past week, and obviously it undermined the area, and we have the situation. But it's something that needs a very good and proactive approach and input. And also that calls to mind as well, so the whole idea of the Public Works Division. It shows you the need for Public Works Division that will be able to take care of these things, when they happen. This has been outsourced, but the people whom it has been outsourced to are not as competent or not as able or capable as as we have seen from the Public Works. And talking of that, I was doing some research on the copper mining in Dominica and the availability of copper, and I was looking at a research document going back to 1962. And they were talking about copper deposits in Dominica. But what was interesting to me is that the person who came from the United Kingdom Geological Survey to do these surveys in Dominica, he said he received assistance from the Public Works Division in Dominica.
Imagine that.
Go to different places. I didn't realize that the Public Works was in operation all of those times, for storied history and so on. But for some reason, it was disbanded by this government. And we are seeing now that there is a solid need for that type of entity that can do the work, that can be proactive, that can build up the expertise and the experience that we've now lost, quite frankly, because it has been disbanded for all intents and purposes. The equipment is rotten that they used to have. All of that is taking place. And so we need a more concerted effort by the government of Dominica to deal with this particular issue. And I believe that Pichelin is the latest wake-up call to us. And I still have some concerns about how it is being dealt with, because you hear one thing from the government. We heard the Minister of Security, for example, saying that there's no problem, there is no immediate threat to the people of Pichelin, yet they're asking some people to evacuate. So it seems that there are mixed messaging going on. And in a situation like that, you cannot have mixed messages. What is called for is decisive action. There's a situation to be dealt with. You deal with the situation, but above all, you must look to preserve life. You must look to preserve the lives of the people. And so taking a very firm decision on what needs to be done, how this thing should be handled, I think is very important. And what I see right now is a little bit of disarray, is a little bit of confusion, is a little bit of government not so much in control. And that is a time when they absolutely need to be in control of the situation. They need to send very clear signals to the public, how they need to behave, what needs to be done. And above all, this particular thing needs to be monitored, because, you have literally tens of hundreds, if not thousands of gallons of water already building up in that area. And we could very well have a repeat of what we saw in Layu. Because you remember Layu, so it was basically the same thing that happened, right?
Yes, and let me tell you exactly, give you a little history. Because at that time, I was doing extension work. I was an extension officer in the Kaum area. And this is Clement Farah. May God bless, may he rest in peace. One time, he stopped me at a point on that road. And he came out from his vehicle and he said, "Cuffy, come and see that." I said, "What are you going to show me?" He said, "Come and see that." So he came out from his vehicle. I came out from my vehicle, and he brought me to a point, and he said, "I not seen a crack in this road." Doc, to be honest, I just wanted to please Dr. Farah. I said, "Dr. Farah, Mr. Clement Farah." I said, "Yes, I'm seeing a split." He said, "I don't think you have seen it." I seen it, but I couldn't see the split. I don't know how this man's eyes could serve as a binoculars at that time to see a crack in the road that wasn't apparent at all. That's the first thing. So I said, okay, that looks like a crack, but it doesn't seem to have any meaning behind it. Lo and behold, couple months after, that same crack started to come a little open. It started opening out little by little, but still did not pose a threat. And at that time, we were still passing over our vehicles, and we could say straight off, Doc, that, let me tell you something, there is no threat. But as months pass by and water start going in this thing because of high rainfall area, cow rainfall, Doc, this thing open. And if you know the area well, in fact, when I will take you up there one day to see the mile distance that splits that mile distance apart from land when you had that total collapse and that sinking. And that's exactly why I don't think it is wise that the government should preempt anything talking about is not an immediate threat. Because what you have to be doing at this point is to be proactive and not just reactive. And if it is not a threat, suppose we come to a conclusion that this is a threat. Why is it that you are not unblocking the Pidit-Savan-Delis road? Because if it is a threat, subsequently and something happens, then nobody will be able to pass. Then you need an alternate route. So if this is not a threat right now, you are telling us now the Pidit-Savan-Delis road is not a threat, so unblock it. But we don't want to make it political. Let's stay on course. So we are what is happening, I think. I'm happy that you mentioned the planning, the policy, and with respect to land use policy. And even so, when we are addressing cutting mountains, we should address what they call preemptive strikes on what they call land, soil conservation or erosion. Take, for instance, all the work they were doing on the mountain side there. They could have easily terrace it or step it so that what you do is a prevention, like a measure that you take early as you cut in to ensure that slides do not come down. I know the work is not over, but temporarily they could have done that. So if we're approaching those work, we need people to guide us in terms of our slope. Now, in terms of when you say it is not an immediate threat, as said by the official, you are telling people downstream, because now that slide has happened, there's a potential threat pending flooding, which means that people now have to seek higher ground. So you are telling me right now, with that plan, as they are convinced that there is not an immediate threat, You are telling me that you're not going to allow people to get prepared to go on higher ground, or you're not going to have the villagers mindful and educated about what the possibilities are. So I think we have to get serious about it. And I believe it is time now that we have a comprehensive program with respect to building up this policy with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Forestry Division, and all the technocrats. You might even have to get a geologist to understand what it is and how we're going to operate this thing. And I'm just saying you're correct. Our public works department, it was the maintenance arm of the government, used to participate in everything. Look to the research and found them to have been essential at that time to help with respect to when the copper mining initiative came about some time ago. So it tells us that I hope that in terms of our quick response and readiness, for these things, that we have a cadre of persons trained and ready and have the equipment line up so that we can get there in quick time, cut the big logs to make sure we ease up the work. Then you have your graders go in there, grade up, and filter the water down. So yes, it may not appear to be an immediate threat, but just because this has happened, it should get the government to work as immediately, Doc, to get things going forward, so that we can avoid that kind of catastrophe that is pending.
No, absolutely. It has to be a comprehensive land use policy, because as I said, I was very much disturbed when I saw in Good Hope a couple of weeks ago that on these very dangerous slopes that are prone to landslides, people are still building homes. There are homes there, and I'm saying, but how should the government even allow people to build there? Because you can see on those mountainside, you can see areas where there have been landslides. So you might see an area of a landslide in the mountain, and then about a couple 100 feet from that landslide, you see a house. I could not believe that people are still living on those slopes. So it seems to me that the government of Dominica needs to make a complete survey around the island and determine where is and where is not fit for human habitation, because there are some areas like this. I mean, I'm thankful. We are very lucky in the sense that the way the landslide happened, there was no loss of life, but a few 100 meters lower down the road could have been a completely different story, And when you think about it, that people are literally living in the shadow of those mountains, which are prone to those earth movements. So there needs to be a comprehensive plan put in place. That is something that we would really, as a government ourselves, we would do if we don't find one in place, a comprehensive land use planning that will determine where the best places for human habitation in areas where people are living that are not suitable, where it is prone to landslides, prone to land movements. This person should be relocated as quickly as possible. And the whole question of how you deal with issues like that. We've had Layu, now we're having Pichne. Are there other areas around Dominica that are prone to this? And while we're at it, it's also another key thing that I think government of Dominica needs to do, and where they have been very, they have not done really well, is to examine our road network. And the reason why I'm saying that, you would recall a few years ago, we had the disaster where two of our sporting persons died.
Right.
The football coach and another footballer from La Plaine, right? As well as we had another footballer from Grand Fort, a national footballer, who luckily escaped death. But they were driving down the road, and after heavy rain again, the water had so undermined that area of the road that the road literally caved in on itself. In the middle of the road, it caved in. He was the first person to pass, because they were going to the airport early in the morning, probably like 5, 6 in the morning, and he had no warning. Imagine you're driving along a flat road, and then suddenly you don't encounter a pothole, you encounter a dip, a landslide in the road itself. And this landslide happened because there was water, a ravine running under the road that was never dealt with. And I wonder how many more places like that in Dominica, because you have so many water outlets in Dominica. You wonder how many other places like that around our road network could have the same thing. These areas need to be dug up, and they need to have culverts so that the water can run safely through there. That's what needs to be done. So, when I saw what happened in Pichne, I was wondering about that. It brought to mind that particular incident again. And you have to wonder whether or not the government of Dominica is taking enough care and attention, given our topography, given the propensity for landslides and earth movements, and given the fact of the amount of water that we have running around so much of the area of Dominica.
Yes, and that is very, very important too. And when you look at it, I am happy that you brought it out because even the whole management of the NEP program, I had to stop to speak to one or two NEP persons to tell them on the side, come a while, that when they are cleaning on the sides of the road, that they're exposing the soil too much, which means that instead they weeding out the grass and leaving the soil bare. But what happens when heavy rainfall comes is that it sweeps down that soil and gradually soil goes down and goes down. And you know what? You have subsequent, we have in a bigger slide and a bigger slide and a bigger slide. So even in the management of doing these things, just on the roadside areas, it can be something that can pose danger to passers-by and vehicular traffic. And so we need to get involved in terms of the whole management of how we do things with respect to exposing our topsoil. And even so, we have to probably review the whole idea of the policy of squatting, because not only that you squat a piece of land, yes, but planning should be able to go in there and assess it and see whether or not this piece of land which is being squatted, poses any danger to the individual who is there. Because it's always important, yes, you squat, you get a piece of land, you may get it cheap, but is that the right piece of land for housing? Or is it good for agriculture? So these are the things that we need to go in there and do, and to ensure that we actually, as a country, be strict with our building code, and to ensure that persons are properly buffered if they were to take a chance to actually build or construct some kind of, edifice on their land. So we need guidance. We need to be more vigilant with respect to where we actually allocate lands, and also it calls for a real assessment now, early o'clock around Dominica, not in the dry season, but as the rain is falling. So then you will see water at tributaries, because it is important that when rain is falling, is when you go in the rural areas, you see how many things look like waterfall. You see, but Dominica never had a waterfall there, but look, you see the water coming out there. So when rain falling, you find that water finds its way in the many tributaries, little drains going around, and then you say, wow. And that is why we have to be guided accordingly. I can remember while I was the extension officer in Kao, they were cutting a road and it was going to put a bridge, and the farmers in the area questioned the engineer, and he said, look, I'm telling you, this bridge is too low. It's like they're telling him, well, what do you know about it? You just farm in there, but you don't know my work. I'm an engineer. And the farmers, and I'm telling them, look, if you put this bridge there, I know this river. Subsequently, it may not come now, it may not happen now, but subsequently, the bridge will go. Lo and behold, a few years after, they confronted the engineer and they built the road in Kaum, in the Gogom area. And who told you? Let me tell you something, man. Doc, when the river came down, it just take bridge and all.
Wow.
And so we have to be mindful about persons living in the area and having experience and know the area. So there should be a nice relationship between the technical people and those who reside there for a long time, who can tell them about the area. And in terms of the whole planning of land distribution, land division, we can also able to guide people and to at least, sort of mitigate the incidence of loss of life, animal, property, and even persons, even probably a greater factor, the land cannot be used again. So it's a real concern, and we need to get to get going on this, So,
yes. So in fact, just to add quickly to this, and that's the reason why, the choice of government means a lot. I would like to let the Dominican public know that the United Workers' Party government will reintroduce the public works. I do not believe that something as critical as that should be outsourced to private individuals. I believe that is something that should be under the purview of the government of Dominica. It should be part and parcel of their policy to preserve the natural environment of Dominica. And we'll talk a little bit about this preservation and the copper and so on in a little bit, because we need to talk some more about it. But I believe that we can offer that a public works division will be reinstituted. I see the need for it. I see the importance of that particular agency over the years, and the fact that now it has been outsourced literally to friends of the prime minister. I mean, let's be honest about it. A lot of the work that we are seeing that used to be done by the public works, they're now outsourced to the friends of the prime minister. So that should not be. That is too important, especially where lives are concerned, especially where people can be killed in the process. You need that to be under some better control, and that is why we would offer as a government to reinstate a public works division that will be responsible for those kinds of works.
Yes, and so before I ask you about lessons learned from that going forward, and connect it with the what is happening at Debash, let me just say you are so correct. It depends on the government in power, and I'm saying that is why the United Workers Party people need to vote in the United Workers Party, because soon after that disaster at Kao, the Matia Dam and so, I believe when that happened, United Workers Party was in government, right? When it actually happened. And I was the extension officer for the area at the time. And I remember Mr. James' administration, Mr. Peter Cabon was Minister for Agriculture at that time, and he asked for a comprehensive report. I went in there, with the Ministry of Agriculture fellas' help, they assessed the crop part, we listed the amount of acreage farmers had in the area, those that lost land, those that didn't lose all of their land, and we brought in a comprehensive report. In fact, I was the banana man there and the acreages. We could mortgage that because we had that at the office, and I was on the ground to assess and to ask people about their titles, and a comprehensive report. And the United Workers Party government was at the time seeking assistance to compensate farmers for their loss, crop loss, and to look at the possibility of relocating these farmers because they had a prime interest as part of their livelihood to survive. So the idea is that we were active and very responsive to what is happening. And that is why you need a government of that nature. So yes, indeed, we need a United Workers Party government to at least look at this kind of happenings, to have a great team to put to work, to do assessment of land, and to even zone, to have zoning done for building, for residential, and for farming. So, Doc, now that we understand what is happening, I believe there are lessons learned from even the recent experience. And so, in what we are hearing, that the Chinese are actually doing some mining at Debash, and maybe the possibility of looking at some mineral that is down there. I don't know what is it, but precious stone, I don't know what is it. What do you make of all of this? Because it seems to me that this government is bent on not putting the correct expertise to do the proper assessment to get the work done without having to harm the environment.
Yes,
and
yes.
we as Dominican, we are very concerned. Going forward, what do you make of everything?
When I saw Pichelin, I thought of Debanche because I was in Debanche last week, and I saw how they've literally removed all of the support of the mountain by taking away the trees there on the mountainside, by cutting down one part of the mountain has been raised to the ground, in the sense that they've removed all of that soil and so on, and the rest of it is exposed. So that area could possibly come down as well. So there is a possibility of having this movement. In fact, when I was there, one of the gentlemen recounted to me that the most dangerous landslide ever in Dominica occurred in that Debanche area, to the point where it cut off communication for several weeks. It took them a long time to clear the slide. People had to walk, people had to drive up to it. That was in the early 1970s. They had to drive up to the slide and then climb over it and take vehicles on the other side to go into town. And that was one of the biggest landslides ever in that same area. And now that they've exposed it to the elements, then there is a possibility that we could see something similar to that. But it's very interesting because we've had a lot of back and forth about what exactly it is that the Chinese are doing. And I personally, just from my own observations, I am not satisfied that they're simply going after stones, especially in the area of Debauche, that particular area that has known deposits of copper. Now, I've started doing some research, and I was surprised at the amount of information that is out there about our copper deposits. So I've seen three studies so far. I saw one that was conducted by the British Geological Survey in 1962. They came back in 1966, and then the U.S. Geological Survey came in 1977. In the 1966 Geological Survey, they were trying to focus on whether or not Dominica had bauxite. So the focus of this particular expert was to look at to find out whether or not Dominica had bauxite deposits. In the process of looking for bauxite, he also looked for copper and zinc deposits. And he pointed to, again, the Debauche area as one of the major areas having it. But interestingly enough, he mentioned that the oldest volcanic formation is on the east coast in the Odalis area of Dominica. That area, just when you leave Roseau and you're going towards Rosalie,
Yes.
about 2 miles from Rosalie, or even less than 2 miles,
Less than
that
that,
area there is called
Odalis.
Odalis.
Yes,
So you have
yes.
all of the earth movement there.
Right.
He indicated that they had sufficient traces of copper to warrant further exploration.
Investigation, yeah.
Yeah, so it was
Yes.
the Debauche area, that area, and also the river in Good Hope, Sansouvet, the Sansouvet River as well had, and based on his survey and his testings and so on, he determined that they had significant deposits of copper in those three areas. So we know for a fact that there is copper in that area, and that was in 1966. He also was able to debunk the thing because there was a big story in 1962 that there was gold in Sari Sari in La Plaine. He was able to conclusively conclude very clearly that there never was gold in that area, that was just a hoax of gold deposits found in that area. And then in 1977, the U.S. Geological Survey came in on the invitation of Premier Patrick John. They came into Dominica to determine what kind of material, what kind of minerals we had in Dominica. So they were looking for everything, for gold, for copper, for oil, you name it. They look for practically everything. And the recommendations and the conclusions was, yes, there is the presence of copper again in the Debauche area. Deposits, he even gave the proposed quantity, the amounts he gave it in terms, the technical term was used, I did not pick up, but anyway, he was able to give a suggested amount. And his recommendation was that had commercial value, that it could be exploited for commercial purposes. That is the copper in the Debauche area. And then he talked about the oil, because they also looked for oil as well. He said definitely no oil on Dominica, but they did some surveys close to Marie-Galante, like between Dominica and Marie-Galante on the sea floor. He said that there was some indication based on the kind of rocks and everything as that were there. There is a potential for oil there. And then he also mentioned Bird Island in 1977.
Interesting.
He said if the country was able to negotiate with Venezuela that now claims Bird Island, then they could have a huge amount of resource of oil in that area. So I found those reports to be quite amazing. And now we see in the year 2026, the Chinese set up shop, and they're claiming that they're there for the rocks. It's very unlikely, from what I saw with my own eyes, although I have absolutely no expertise in this. I have seen other quarries around Dominica, and where there are quarries, there is rock. There is hard rock, as they call it, fair.
Yes.
Right? But I have not seen that there. So it does appear, I think it is any reasonable person, if they surmise that there may be some kind of prospecting for copper, they may be correct. And the other thing that that was confirmed in the report is the indication that although they did not find any deposits of gold, but they indicated that where there is phosphor is copper, there is a potential as well for gold. Okay, but they did not find any gold in the streams of Dominica. They looked all over the island, they did not find any, but certainly copper is very much prevalent. Oil just offshore, and of course in the vicinity of Bird Island.
Yes, interesting. Wow, that's a fabulous investigation, and I think you have actually republished this report, dissect it, and deliver it tonight. And I think it's very interesting. So maybe too, knowing that they're anxious because they say if it's not CBI, is what? So they realize now they have to look for some other source, and that might be the possibility. I hope not, but the point is we still remain adamant that the government should stop the operations at Debosh. Because if it's stones you're looking for, we have so many stones all over the place. It can't be stones you're looking for in that
It can't be stones, yeah.
You pass how many places that have stone and it's day one stone? No, I don't think so. So you must get it right about the stone. So let's take some comments. We have been seeing there earlier there. You see that yes, I'm seeing that Dominica has people as part of a government who doesn't know whether they come in or they are going. That is what start to say. And one person is saying there, UWP workers, best party ever, working people, workers again. And he said, workers is going to be shouted at the rally coming. So that is it. And he said that someone is saying that supporters of the Labour Party are getting projects worth millions of dollars all over Dominica. We in turn hand over the projects to mediocre for a small amount of money, while pocketing the majority, and the work is nothing close to be finished. And it's a reality going forward with this comment. I support this comment. One saying that he can name all the supporters of the government getting all the projects all over Dominica. I know Rosie Douglas' main motto was all shall eat, but Skerry changed it to only some Labour rights shall eat. And some people you hear them say, some shall eat all. I don't know, and that's true. And also under this government, you can also say to Doc that they take from the needy to give to the greedy. So that is obviously. Yeah, and one person is saying that it's high time that this incompetent government leave office after 25 years of malgovernance. And one person again continues to stride again and say, I believe it because a lot of people used to have copper in their yard. That was way back in the early 80s. So again, the report that you have revealed there, the investigation done some years ago, and you have actually got that report and share some of it with us. Some persons have the view that persons were convinced that they may have had copper in their backyard, and so there's a possibility in this area that that sort of deposit might be a reality. But Doc, as we speak to, there are two areas again of concern as we're talking about erosion and landslides and even river undermining. You have been traversing the airport road, Bells to Marigot Road, occasionally when you go out to your meetings, when you go out to meet farmers, quit the public, town halls, whatever. And when you go to travel, and you would have noticed that just somewhere before Bells proper itself, you saw the river undermining, and it took the government since Erica, and that took the government some time, and I think now they started doing some walls there. All that again is something that we have to address urgently because we don't know how soon we could have a total erosion of this road. And when you look at even higher up the Antrim Valley, going up to the Dawasco tank, just after the Dawasco area.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. You have
and
that
Odalis as well, the same Odalis. Same
right.
thing.
Right. You have that continuous, sinkage in that road. And no matter they have dug it several times and fill it back up, and we are getting the same thing. So it appears to me there needs a serious draining, a serious digging, and get the foundation of that. Although we know to the right of it, or to the left when you're going up and to the right when you're coming down, there's a deep valley there. So it has some challenges with respect to reaching the riverbed there. But nonetheless, there needs to have a sort of big retaining wall and to just, because one day we'll wake up and may not see this road. So there's a lot, a lot to do, and I believe serious assessment by the planning division and the surveyors can guide the government into doing a comprehensive plan. But I know they are lazy; they don't have time for that. So we will undergo these major things to let Dominicans be safe, because remember, we travel this road there every day, and it is a risk. So we really need to address these situations before they become a catastrophic. And
Yes.
talk about catastrophic, yes. So I know
Yes,
that you're
indeed,
committed.
indeed. So and I can tell you. I mean, you're talking about this one in Bells, but I am very much concerned. For example, if Bells were to go, then you have an alternative. You have a workaround. You can go
Right.
through Cassie Bruce. You can come around through the airport through Portsmouth into the airport. But if you consider that going towards Rosalie, the same Odalis area, the river after the hurricane, it changed its course, so it started to undermine this strip. So on the one side, you have the mountain that is coming down occasionally. We had a major landslide recently, a few weeks ago. But on the river side of it, below, so you have basically one small strip across that can barely take two vehicles. It has been undermined. They have put up the same barriers and the yellow tape there, but that is being undermined very, very severely. My concern is that if that portion of road goes either through a major slide coming down, or that portion sliding into the river, as is likely to happen, that the entire southeast will be shut off from the
That's
rest
correct.
of Dominica. The entire
Yeah.
southeast, talking about the villages of Rivière Civic, Monjon, Grand Fond, La Plaine, Berica, Delices. All of those villages will be completely shut out of Dominica, because there is no alternate route. The one alternate route that was built under the United Workers' Party government, that opened up the Pilit Savan to Dalis Road, that would allow access through that way into the rest of Dominica. It was damaged by Hurricane Maria 15 years ago by Hurricane Maria, and the government has not seen it fit to repair this. They claim they did some work. They finally put up a temporary bridge a few months ago, but the work that needed to be done to secure the road itself has not been done. So that road is not usable. And so there is a danger that the entire southeast can be cut off from the rest of the island.
Yes, so we have someone asking a question there, that what are you guys' views on the visa free for the people of the Dominican Republic? Because remember, some time ago, the government, sometime on the 20th of January, said that they are going to let it be easy entry for the Dominican Republic people. And the reason and justification on paper, stated by the Prime Minister, is to have population growth. I don't know where you're going with that one, but I know, Doc, some time ago, you had to look at the social indicators and to see what exactly has brought us there, because I know in a situation where, and you're going to answer, in a situation where you have population growth, it is not just about population growth. You have to talk about use of the infrastructure, education, health, and so. And so obviously, if you're not in a good position to have that large amounts of person, then I don't know how you're going to manage that. So you can give a response to that question being asked.
You know, my whole view is that there should not be any visa restrictions between the islands of the Caribbean. I honestly do not believe that we should have visas imposed. And in any case, even where you have visa imposition, people come to the country first, because we don't have the facilities overseas to allow for people to access the visas out. So it means they have to come to Dominica and they're given a visa on arrival. Now that's a way of raising resources, having a visa on arrival. But I think for countries within the region, there should be visa-free entry. So I have absolutely no problems with that. I think that if you're traveling within the Caribbean region, you should be allowed to come in and out of those countries without having to apply for a visa. Why it took so long? Why it's happening now? I cannot venture a reason for that, because we've had the presence of Dominican Republic persons amongst us for many, many years, especially and in particular under the Labour Party government, they were able to attract quite a number of particularly female visitors from the Dominican Republic into Dominica. So, I think that is something that we have to look at in terms of a broader visa policy. I don't think the Haitians are prone to visa because they are part of CARICOM, and there is visa free entry for CARICOM nationals, except that if you want to work in the country, then I would support you having to get a work permit. So if you come into Dominica as a Haitian, as a Dominican person from the Dominican Republic, you would need to apply for a work permit before you're allowed to work. But in terms of just if you want to come as a visitor, you want to come and visit the country for a couple of weeks, I don't think there should be any visas.
Well, so I can just safely say in Spanish, buenas noches a mis amigos de la República Dominicana. Ustedes son bienvenidos a Dominica. Good night to my friends from the Dominican Republic. You all are welcome to Dominica. And obviously our political leader said there's no problem with that. Under his reign, he don't see anything wrong with that, but to arrange properly and to make sure that things happen. And I'll go back again, and the question, that's a very good question, because under the United Workers' Party, we have always seen a shift in the agricultural sector where we have an aging population, and we felt at the time that the government was very transparent with that, and the government knew what was happening at the time and took action to sort of curb that problem. At that time, we do not have readily available labor in the agricultural sector. A lot of people were not inclined to work agriculturally, and so that put us a labor shortage in the agricultural sector. And so there was an arrangement made, so that we had a coordinator here in Dominica. I think that was mandated by the cabinet at the time under the WP. Mr. Emil Thomas from Wesley was actually spearheading this program. And the arrangement was made that Mr. Emil will go out and make the arrangement to at least do that sort of recruitment for labor, but he would have to get persons who were inclined agriculturally, who have actually had experience in agriculture. And so when they come, you'd have housing prepared for them, and they would be deployed in areas where they would have been treated humanely. And that's what you do with people coming from overseas to reside in your country. You have to ensure that you provide for them so that they can live in a humane situation. And so we had farmers encouraged to build farmhouses. You had to have your toilets on there. You had to have an area so that the farm could shower. Some of them live in close by areas, so that wasn't necessary. Some people who house them have a sort of room at their homes for them. So they'll be housed there and then taken to the farm to help. And in fact, this initiative helped, the agricultural sector with respect to boosting production. So again, that was the foresight of the United Workers' Party in terms of moving Dominica forward. We see now agriculture as an all-time low, and the government does nothing to bring it back. And the next episode, we will be exploring some of what the government has said with respect to making lands available to people. Nobody's opposed of land being made available to Dominicans to work, but that approach is wrong, and the way they're going to do it, and the next time we'll explore it so that we'll give a deep perspective of it. So, Doc, you are correct when you talk about, making the enabling environment conducive for people to come in, but doing things really the right way, and so that people will have to abide with the country's laws. So we are not averse to persons coming to Dominica, but they have to come in the right way and to be targeted to do the right things. So rest assured, our good friends from the Dominican Republic, and other Caribbean neighboring islands and Caribbean islands in the Caribbean, that their natives are welcome, and we will work with that, because we are all over the place, also in the Caribbean as well. Is that so, Doc?
Yes, indeed, Soso. I mean, that is really the case, and we have always been a welcoming people. And somebody's asking the question as to how long it takes to become a citizen of Dominica. I know that many Haitians have become citizens. They have been issued with passports. As to how long, what the requirement is, I must confess I'm not too familiar with that particular part
Yeah,
of the
I'm not.
immigration law.
I'm
So
not
we will
there.
do our research and we'll be able to answer that in the next session.
Yeah,
But it would certainly be good to answer. I know that it is being done for persons who are coming and who have established themselves here in Dominica, getting that. The question is how long you have to be residing in Dominica before you can apply to become a citizen. So that is something we have to look at. I suspect it may be 10 years, but I want to be absolutely certain and go back and do the research, and we'll be able to respond to that in our next broadcast. But I think it's important also, as you said, we have to be welcoming. And very soon, by the way, we are going to be needing, especially when the United Workers' Party assumes the office of government, we are going to be in need of labor. We are because we are going to go into agriculture in a full-time basis. Agriculture is a whole plank of our pillars, of our 10 pillars. You're talking about the feeder roads. You're talking about inputs provided to the farmers, the subsidies, government subsidies. You're talking about a land bank. We have a very sophisticated and comprehensive plan for agriculture, not just giving young people land for $1. No, that doesn't cut it.
no,
You're talking about, the building up of the feeder roads, the availability of inputs for the farmers, soft loans and grants, subsidizing of some crops as well. These are all things. The development of a land bank where we can go after all of the abandoned estates in Dominica and make those productive again. So we have plans for that. That is something we will, as we go through this year, every now and then. So we'll be taking a program to spend time on a specific pillar out of the 10 pillars. So over 10 programs, we'll be able to do a very comprehensive look. We'll take a very comprehensive look at those 10 pillars, and we'll start with agriculture, because that is where we want to really focus on
yeah,
agriculture.
fair enough. And earlier when I saw, I'm not seeing the comment again. I'm not going to read it, but I don't take offense, and I will not take offense. It doesn't trouble me. One person is saying that we should get work to do. Fair enough. We are doing work. We are educating the people of Dominica. And let me just tell that person for the record that I, Glenroy Soso Cuffy, worked in the banana industry for 21 years. 21 years. I was banana extension officer at one time, field program supervisor. I acted production services manager at one time. I even reached on the board of directors of the Dominica of DPEX, right? Dominica Agricultural Export Agency, and was deputy chairman of that company as well. And at the time I was an extension officer, I stayed for about 15 years in extension on the field. And when I was assigned a district, every week my district accounted for about $4 to $5 million in generating revenue from overseas, foreign exchange. So this is the hard work of Glenroy Soso Cuffy and the other colleagues that I had I work with at the banana company. So we have contributed. You see, people just come and they come in politics. They have contributed nothing to this country. Dr. Fontaine can speak for himself. He's a well-renowned economist. But I'm letting you know, I was a banana farmer, and I was producing every week. So not only that, I was involved in technical dissemination of information to augment farmers' production and to enhance quality and to ensure that we had a good certification program to sustain the UK market. Also, I was an active bona fide farmer producing every week and generating income to this country. So that is why I have agricultural land today. So don't feel offended when we are here trying to impart knowledge for our counterparts here. And don't feel offended that we genuinely give our time. This is voluntary, And we come here and we said this is not an unspun zone. You cannot spin things here. We speak truth to power.
Yes.
And so if you are offended, the best you can do is close your little computer or your little phone, or just listen and learn. But do not try to think you can, tell us things and we run away. No, I have a track record of performance. I've worked hard for this country, Dominica. Dr. Fontaine himself has worked hard for this country. Remember in the days he used to accompany the IMF and come here. And he actually gave the government a chance to see what they can do, because remember, you have a choice when an IMF come, They will come, they will look at your system and they'll say, you need to, restructuring and do this and that. And they say structural adjustment. Okay, but I have a program. And you would say, well, let's give the government a chance to see what they can do. But they have failed miserably. You're talking about 50,000 people plus. And Dr. Fontaine can do it with his team. The man has gone out and talk about millions of persons and fix their economy. Don't take offense when we come here and we have our program educating people, my brother. So if you feel offended by good vibes, that's just bad enough.
Yeah,
that's just
too
bad
bad.
enough.
Too bad.
Yeah, too bad. Doc? So
Too
I just
bad.
wanted to make sure I dealt with that. But let me just announce again, our Mo Banking ID is 555-2242 and the account number is 1005636. Also, can visit our website, uwp-dominica.com. Click on donation, and there you go right away, and you give us what you have to give us. We would appreciate that your input. You have been doing it before, and we would ask you to continue to do so. So, Doc, I know we have just, the time just go against us there, and I know you come for your closing remarks. We want to again, ponder on our people to come out and support the rally. You have asked for it. You have to make it happen. We have to make it happen. So we expect you at Grand Four on this coming Sunday. We'll be starting on time and to make sure that you come. Let us full up the place. All roads lead to Grand Four. So when you pick up your friend, if you do not take the bus, come up. Let's go. It's Grand Four. We're going. And so, Doc, as we put this program to rest, another episode, great episode, as was enunciated by many persons participating, I would like your closing remarks before we just put on the curtain final on this program.
Well, certainly. So actually, I was furiously looking for the promo that we had for the and I can't find it just as now. But certainly, just to encourage persons to come out on Sunday. We're excited about the prospects of a United Workers' Party rally. Give us a chance to meet persons from across the island and also to continue to share our vision for Dominica. Dominica needs help. Dominica needs rescuing. And we're certainly committed to doing our best to ensure that we have a wonderful country that we can all be proud of and that our diasporans can come back to make their home. Also, I just want to mention that tomorrow, the 27th, we are in court tomorrow with the government. You may recall that the United Workers' Party, under my leadership, we decided to take the government of Dominica to court to account for the millions in CBI proceeds. We expect the case to start in earnest tomorrow after almost a year of delay and so on. I'm thankful that the judge finally put a foot down at the last session and said, no more delays. We've got to get this going. This is a matter of public interest. It's a huge matter of public interest, and it needs to be settled. And so, we're very happy that it's going forward. And what we're asking for, we're basically asking to see the contractual arrangements between MMC, that is Anthony Hayden, and the government of Dominica. Anthony Hayden, you may recall, is the person that is allowed to keep practically, 2/3 or more of the CBI proceeds, keep it, and then he turns around and gives the government what he wants out of it to build homes and then to build an international airport. So we need to see what kind of contract that allowed someone who is not a Dominican, someone who, just emerged literally out of nowhere, got to occupy this critical to serve, basically serving as Dominica's treasury. That's what he is, because according to our constitution, all revenues earned under the CBI program or any revenue generation by the government must be channeled through our treasury. So if you have an individual through whom this money is being channeled, then we have to assume that he is also part of the treasury of Dominica. And the question is, how did that happen? So the case is being heard tomorrow at the High Court in Roseau. We'll continue to update the Dominicans on the progress. We don't expect it to finish anytime soon. We expect it to take some time. We had a period of disclosure where the government side was supposed to release documents. So all of that have been examined and looked at by the lawyers. We are very fortunate that we have a very competent lawyer in the former Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, who's leading our effort and who is devoting his time and his expertise and his law firm of over 200 lawyers, devoting that to us in Dominica. So we are very thankful for that kind of competence that we have to be able to really put forward what is really a complex case, but it's something that the Dominican public need to have answers to. So tomorrow that's happening at the High Court in Roseau, and we hopeful that what we asked for, which is that the court compels the government to put all the money through the Treasury from the CBI, and also give us some indication as to what type of contractual arrangement that exists, not only with Anthony Hayden, but with any other passport agent, anybody handling monies from the CBI program. We need to see what kind of contractual arrangements that they have with the government of Dominica. In any other country, that would have been made public because this is public interest. This has to be public knowledge. But the government of Dominica, in true secretive style, as they've done, hide the MOU from the people of Dominica, mark you, with the people of China, the government of China. They've hidden that away from us. They're hiding that as well. And God knows what else is hidden by this government. And so that is going forward. I just wanted to inform the people of that, and also to say a big thank you as well, because that would not have been possible without the support of the many Dominicans who contributed their hard-earned cash. Okay, we actually made an appeal, and we were able to raise several $1,000s towards it. We are very thankful for that. As you know, to get a hold of these high-class lawyers requires a lot of money, and we're thankful that the people of Dominica responded, both in Dominica and in diaspora. And I want to personally express my thanks to all of you who have contributed towards our legal fund and to ensuring that this particular matter is heard before the court. So we're not just talking, we are taking action, and we're doing it in a way that will force the government to give us answers. And so we're very thankful for that. That's happening tomorrow, and of course Sunday, the big event. All roads lead to Grand Fond. We anxiously look forward to welcoming you in the beautiful and scenic village of Grand Fond.
That is true. Thank you, Doc. And let me just say, well, somebody seemed to have a problem maybe saying that we could be well facing constitutional reform, or we have a constitutional crisis. And as PM, would you visit or review some of the aspects needed to bring some constitutional light? Well, we'll answer that next time. We're not going there. I know the aspects of the Constitution probably that may need to be visited. I'm talking about the Dominica Constitution. But at this point in time, it's also a question about will you be seeking to do some constitutional reforms? So
yes, we've actually mentioned that. The quick answer to that is yes. We've already talked about having a comprehensive, I believe the last time the Constitution was reviewed was in probably 1978, when we had our independence, and we had legal luminaries like Cozy Harris and Telford Georges and so on looking at it. But we probably need in this day and age to take a second look at it again as well. And of course, we've talked about the term limits. That is very important for politicians. No prime minister should be in charge of a country for 20 years. We have to set limits on that. We are committed to that, but that has to be done through a constitutional review. So these types of issues will certainly be able to tackle. So the answer is yes, but we'll talk more about some of the ideas we have for the Constitution in a subsequent broadcast.
And it's a nice way to bring it down. Somebody say they already have their smoke meat, so they come in for a bag of dash at the convention. No problem.
Yes, Grand Fond is the dashing capital. So yeah, come prepared. Actually, that's a great idea, Soso. I just got an idea. Yeah. We'll ask the Grand Fond people to have some dashing already.
To sell of us, but vending, that's good.
Why not? Why not? Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so let me just thank you, Dr. Fontaine, once again for coming forward again. You've always been facing the Dominican people genuinely, honestly, faithfully. And let me thank the many patriots of Dominica and those who have been contributing to this program. We value your input, your suggestions, and we want to say that we cannot do it alone. We need you to help us to do it. Help us to help you. And let us get to fix Dominica once and for all. So just how you all have a lovely, productive week. And as we, wind down this week, we want everyone to participate in nation building. And we just wish you well in your work, whatever you do. and to wish Dominica well. So thank you again, Doc, and have a good night. Thank you to the people who have been making their contribution, asking questions. Till next time, we say we love you. Hasta la próxima semana. Till next week.
All right. Take care. Good night, Dominica. Bye-bye.
Thank you.